How many times have you wasted time and energy thinking about something that wasn't up to you? A delay that irritated you, a message that never arrived, or a decision that was in someone else's hands. You replay the scene 1,000 times, wearing yourself out, getting frustrated, but nothing changes because it wasn't under your control. That's exactly where confusion, anxiety, and paralysis are born. But when you focus only on what is in your hands, something powerful happens. Clarity. With your mind focused on what you can truly do, your actions become accurate, firm, and effective. Stoicism teaches us exactly this: how to train our eyes to see clearly and choose the wiser path in life. And when you learn to trust your own ability to act, indecision and inaction stop being obstacles. In this video, I'll show you 7 Stoic exercises you can start practicing today. Simple, practical steps that fit into your daily routine and silently return to you what you need most: control over your life. If you want to begin this transformation now, write in the comments, "Today, I choose to focus on what I can control." That symbolic gesture is the first training step to free your mind from the weight of what doesn't depend on you and to direct your strength exactly where it makes a difference. 1. Win small battles before they become wars. The little disappointments of daily life are like mosquito bites. One is annoying, but many in a row can leave you exhausted, irritated, and drained. The truth is that we don't always fall because of great tragedies, but because of the small annoyances that accumulate. The train delay, the unanswered message, the app that cancels your ride at the worst moment. It's not the gravity of the problem that destroys your peace, it's the repetition of that problem inside your mind. Stoicism invites us to look at these situations differently. Instead of letting irritation grow until it takes over your mood, you can learn to observe it consciously. The feeling arises, but it's you who decides whether to feed it or weaken it. That's the key, not to deny what you feel, but to regulate your reactions. Because if you think about it, almost everything we call a problem today would have been considered a luxury in another time. A 5-minute delay is nothing compared to when people traveled days to reach their destination. Waiting for a text message is nothing compared to when a letter took weeks to cross the ocean. You're not living a tragedy, you're facing discomfort. And anyone who can't tolerate discomfort becomes a slave to every detail. Seneca said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." Life was never meant to be free of difficulties, but to be lived with courage in the face of them. Every frustration is a secret test. You either let it weaken you or you turn it into strength training. The exercise is simple. When something small irritates you, pause and ask, "Will this matter tomorrow? Will this matter in 5 years?" In 90% of cases, the answer will be no. That question works like an invisible shield, cutting off the power of irritation before it consumes you. Remember, those who master the details gain power over the whole. Conquering small battles prepares you to face the great wars of life. Each time you choose not to be dominated by them, you build more clarity, more strength, and more inner freedom. Write in the comments, "Today I choose not to give power to small disappointments." It may seem small, but destiny is shaped in the details. When you win in the details, you win in life. 2. Choose one virtue and let it guide your week. Courage, temperance, justice, and wisdom. These are the 4 pillars of Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, said, "If anyone can show me anything better than these virtues, let them prove it. But I know nothing better." Here's the secret. Changing your life in silence is not about announcing to the world what you'll do, but about practicing, day after day, in silence, one of these virtues until it becomes part of who you are. Imagine starting with courage. Courage is not shouting louder than others or pretending you're invincible. Courage may simply be getting out of bed when sadness weighs on you, looking someone you love in the eyes and saying a truth you've been avoiding, admitting a mistake and asking for forgiveness, even when pride pushes you toward silence. Courage is also finally sending that resume you've kept hidden for months, scheduling the medical appointment you've been postponing out of fear, or saying no when everyone expects you to say yes. True courage rarely has an audience, but it quietly changes the direction of your life. In the week of justice, the training appears in small but powerful choices, returning the extra change you were given even when no one would notice, giving credit to someone at work who deserves it, even if it means sharing the applause, treating with respect the waiter who serves you, the doorman who opens the door, the driver who takes you, people many ignore, but who also deserve dignity. And in bigger moments, justice may mean not staying silent in the face of what wounds your values, even if everyone else prefers to look away. To be just is not to betray what you know deep down is right. In the week of wisdom, the training is in the rhythm of your mind. Wisdom is listening more than you speak. It is taking a step back to see a situation from another angle. It is holding your tongue before releasing a word that will never return. It may also be setting aside 20 minutes for a book that expands your vision, learning from someone older, or silently reflecting on your own mistakes. Wisdom doesn't appear suddenly. It is built in the quiet observation of those who think before they act. And in the week of temperance, the training is in limits. Limits on your plate, when anxiety tries to control your appetite. Limits on your card, when desire screams louder than reason. Limits on your time, when work invades every space and you forget that rest is also part of life. Temperance is seeing those shoes in the shop window and asking yourself, do I really need this now, or am I just trying to fill a void? It is turning off your phone to enjoy dinner calmly, without distractions. It is realizing that you don't need everything, only what makes sense. Those who learn moderation discover that the essential is more than enough. Each virtue is like a seed planted in silence. You don't need to tell anyone, because the fruit will appear on its own. More firmness, more clarity, more balance. And when those seeds grow inside you, insecurity loses space, and what remains is a life guided by values that nothing can erase. The exercise is simple. Choose one virtue and live it during the week. No announcements, no justifications, just practice. Because the changes that truly transform are not displayed. They bloom quietly and illuminate everything around them. 3. Do a daily review. How many times do you reach the end of the day with a tired mind but not knowing exactly why? Hours passed, you ran around, answered messages, dealt with pressures, but when you go to bed, you feel as if something is left undone. It's as if you lived every day on autopilot, accumulating thoughts and emotions without ever pausing to organize them. And it is there where mental confusion, anxiety, and the feeling of always being in debt to yourself are born. Seneca advised that at the end of each day, we should find a quiet place and reflect, what did I do wrong? What did I do right? What could I have done differently? A simple exercise, but capable of silently changing the course of your life. This practice is not new. In the 15th century, Ignatius of Loyola called it the daily exam. Today, psychologists and personal development specialists also confirm it. Stopping for a few minutes to review the day is one of the most powerful habits for self-knowledge. When you write or reflect on what happened, something magical happens. You see yourself more clearly. Mistakes don't become impossible monsters, successes don't go unnoticed, and every action receives the value it truly has. This daily review can be divided into 3 simple but transformative questions. First, what did I do wrong? Maybe today you raised your voice at someone who wasn't to blame, unloading your irritation on someone who only wanted to help. Maybe you promised something and didn't deliver, even though you could have. Or maybe you spent money you didn't have just to soothe a passing anxiety. These stumbles don't make you a bad person, but accept them, and they'll stop controlling you. As long as you don't admit a mistake, you have no power over it. Denying it keeps you a prisoner. But when you write it down and acknowledge it, you already begin to regain control. You are not your mistake. You just stepped away from virtue for a moment. Recognizing it is the key to returning to the right path. Second, what did I do right? Even a stopped clock is right twice a day. No one is wrong 100% of the time. When you write down your successes, you reinforce within yourself the habit of doing good. That strengthens confidence, builds self-esteem, and shows you that virtues are already alive within you, waiting only to be repeated. It could be something simple: listening patiently to a friend instead of interrupting, completing a task you had been postponing, choosing to exercise even without motivation, or simply taking a deep breath instead of reacting with anger. Recording what went well trains the mind to see that you are capable, and that is gold. Third, what could I have done differently? This is the space where attitudes turn into wisdom. Maybe you answered harshly without reason. Maybe you wasted an hour scrolling through useless comments online when you could have read, walked, or rested. Or maybe you avoided an important conversation because it was uncomfortable, and now you carry the weight inside. Ask yourself, could I have done it differently? Because when you become aware of that, your life begins to transform. Repetition stops being blind habit and becomes conscious choice. Epictetus reminded us, you are not just responding once, you are becoming what you repeat. That is the power. Each reviewed act, each reflection, is an opportunity to break an old habit and plant a new destiny. The daily review is like holding a mirror up to your soul. You don't need to publish it, tell anyone, or justify. It's a silent dialogue with your conscience. Start simply. Once a week, take your phone or a notebook and answer these 3 questions. Over time, you'll notice you're not just reviewing the day, you're shaping quietly the person you want to become. Write in the comments, "Today I reflect on my day." It's not just a phrase, it's a turning point, the beginning of a more conscious life, guided by your own clarity. 4. Recognize your inner tools. Sometimes everything happens at once: a harsh message, a deadline about to expire, the urge to give up. Inside, the mind triggers old responses: complain, postpone, attack, escape. But before the first impulse, there exists a silent instant in which you choose who you will be. It is in that small space between the trigger and the reaction where your inner tools live. When you learn to access them, the outside world stops ruling over you. Epictetus, the Stoic sage, taught that it is not the obstacle that defines our lives, but the way we choose to face it. If someone offends us, we can use the insult as an opportunity to train patience. If we face pain, we can discover our resilience. And when faced with temptation, we can practice self-control. The secret is not in what happens outside, but in what you awaken inside. This exercise invites us to remember, every time we face difficulty, the inner tools we already possess. You may think you don't have what it takes, but if you look calmly, you'll notice seeds of courage, patience, discipline, and kindness already within you. You just have to use them. And when it seems like something is missing, the challenge itself is the perfect opportunity to develop it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Look within yourself. There is the fountain of good, and it will always bubble up if you will ever dig." This means that real strength does not come from circumstances or from others' opinions, but from accessing, in silence, that inner reservoir that never runs dry. Think of simple daily situations. When you're on a diet and refuse dessert, it's not just food you're controlling, it's the muscle of self-control growing stronger. When you get up to work, even on days when laziness weighs heavily, you are training self-discipline, with no witnesses, no applause, only your conscience. When you teach someone with patience, without humiliating them, you're cultivating generosity and justice. When you take a deep breath in front of a provocation and choose silence, you're practicing temperance. Each challenge is like a gym for the soul. The weight may be uncomfortable, but it's what strengthens the invisible muscles of your character. The problem is that too often we only look at the difficulty and forget the battles we've already won, the tools we already have. But the truth is, you've already survived days you thought you couldn't. You've endured pains that seemed unbearable. You found solutions when everything looked lost. And if you did it before, you can do it again. The practice is simple. The next time you face a difficulty, don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Ask instead, "Which inner tool can I train now?" Because this is how change happens, not through grand speeches, but in the silence of each daily choice. If this lesson resonates with you, write in the comments, "I look within myself." Writing that is like lighting a quiet flame inside, a reminder that the greatest transformations begin within before they appear in the world. 5. Exercise your power to captain your life. How many times have you felt like you were living on autopilot, as if someone else was making decisions for you? As if the ship of your life were being steered by strange hands while you just watched, not knowing where you were heading? When we don't clearly choose what will occupy our minds and guide our steps, someone or something chooses for us. And let's be honest, those choices don't always serve our best interests. Epictetus, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, said we need to constantly watch what we allow into our minds, because if we don't, we end up giving space to other people's opinions, social expectations, or silent vices that gradually take control of our lives. When that happens, we live a story that isn't truly ours. To captain your life means bringing control back into your hands. It means knowing what truly matters to you and aligning your actions with those priorities, in silence, without needing applause or outside approval. When you do this, your choices stop being automatic reactions and become conscious decisions. A simple exercise for practicing this power is the dynamic of I want and I can. I want is your north, the destination you wish to reach. I can is the concrete, small, silent actions you can take today to move toward that goal. I want lives in dreams. I can lives in your hands. Without I can, I want remains just a distant thought. But each I can is a silent stroke of the oar that puts the ship in motion. Here's how it works in practice. In health, I want more energy and to lose weight. I can take the stairs instead of the elevator. I can cook at home twice a week, saving calories and money. I can say no to dessert, even when everyone insists, just one bite. I can walk 20 minutes after dinner, letting my body quietly thank me. In career, I want a promotion. I can take on a project no one else wanted, showing initiative. I can study 30 minutes a day to sharpen my skills. I can ask my boss directly what I can improve. I can replace 1 hour of distraction with 1 hour of deep focus on an important task. In relationships, I want more closeness with my child. I can put away my phone at dinner and look him in the eyes. I can sit on the floor to build the toy he asked me to. I can ask what was most important in his day and truly listen. In finances, I want to save money for a trip. I can cook at home on Friday night instead of ordering takeout. I can sell an unused item from my closet. I can set aside a fixed amount, no matter how small, every month. Notice how it works. The want dreams of the destination, but it is the can that moves the ship. Without action, the dream is only an idea. With action, it becomes a path. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "Stop talking about what a good man should be and be one." The same applies to our goals. Stop just talking about what you want. Start acting as someone who already lives that choice. The practice is clear. Define 1, I want, and 3, I can today. Do it in silence, just with yourself, and watch how your life begins to gain direction. If this lesson made sense to you, write in the comments, "I am the captain of my life." That symbolic phrase is a reminder that with every conscious decision, you take back the helm and choose the course of your own journey. 6. Practice emotional and material detachment. Think of something you consider indispensable. It could be a sweet after lunch, the hours you spend scrolling on social media, or even the habit of rereading a message 100 times before sending it for fear of judgment. Maybe it's a vice that seems harmless. Too much coffee, a weekend social cigarette, or the constant urge to check notifications every 5 minutes. Now imagine living without it for a few days. At first, it feels uncomfortable, as if you're giving up happiness. But in truth, you're training one of the greatest freedoms that exist, the power of self-control. What you call comfort may actually be your prison. When you dare to let go of something that dominates your routine, you discover you're stronger than you thought. You realize life goes on, and that you don't depend on that thing to feel complete. In that process, you become someone capable of doing what most people never attempt. This applies to simple things: resisting your favorite dessert, realizing you don't need it to feel good; reducing social media time, finding you suddenly have space to talk with someone or simply rest your mind; facing the insecurity that always paralyzes you, taking a step forward even with fear. But detachment isn't only material, it's also emotional. We cling to feelings like fear, self-criticism, and insecurity, as if they were part of who we are. They act like invisible weights. You know they harm you, yet you still carry them. The challenge is to release that weight. Each time you act with confidence despite doubt, each time you refuse to feed a negative thought, you're training your mind to be free. Seneca said, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." And courage is precisely this: letting go of what no longer serves you, even if it hurts, even if it seems impossible at first. This challenge is not just about resisting a habit, it's about freeing yourself from the chains that hold back your growth. It's about leaving behind what binds you, to open space for what can transform you. When you do this, you discover that much of what you thought was essential was actually an obstacle to your true potential. The practice is simple. Choose something today that you will leave behind for the coming days. It could be a habit like procrastination, an excess like social media, or a feeling like constant fear. Remember, your life and your happiness don't depend on what you let go of, but on the conscious decisions you take in its place. And here's the key: you don't need to tell the world what you're leaving behind. It's enough to silently commit to yourself. Because when you let go of something that binds you, the space left behind always fills with strength. Write in the comments, "Today I release what binds me." It's not about exposing your choice, but about reminding yourself that today you are freer than yesterday. 7. Decide what truly matters each day. Imagine that at the end of today you made a list of everything you did and asked yourself quietly, "Would I have lived this day the same way if I knew it was my last?" That simple question has the power to flip your routine upside down. Suddenly, the hours spent scrolling on your phone or completing meaningless tasks feel empty. Meanwhile, a hug for your mother, an honest conversation with your child, a few minutes of silence to care for your mind, or working on that project you always postpone, all of it gains enormous value. This exercise works like a filter. It separates the noise from the essential. You begin to realize that much of what fills your time is just distraction. At the same time, you see that the simplest experiences, being present with loved ones, cultivating healthy habits, dedicating yourself to what you truly believe in, are what bring real meaning. The Stoics called this practice memento mori, remember that you will die. For them, it wasn't a dark thought, but a compass. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." This reminder isn't about fear, it's about clarity. When you live aware of the brevity of life, you stop postponing what truly matters. You say what needs to be said. You choose presence over distraction. You value the time that will never return. The practice is straightforward. Every morning, ask yourself, what would be essential if today were my last day? Choose one action, one gesture, one presence that reflects that answer, and carry it out. It doesn't have to be grand. Often it's in the simplest acts, listening, forgiving, embracing, that the greatest meanings of life are found. Write in the comments, "Today I choose what really matters." That sentence is more than words. It's a compass that brings you back to what's essential. And when you repeat this daily, little by little, You'll notice that your life is no longer driven by urgency, but guided by meaning. These 7 exercises are not spectacular or complicated. They are small, silent steps. But in them lies the power of Stoicism. Win small battles before they grow into wars. Let a virtue guide your week. Review your day with honesty. Recognize the tools you already carry within. Take the helm of your life. Let go of what binds you, and every day decide what truly matters. None of this requires applause, recognition, or spectacle. The Stoics remind us that the greatest victories are conquered in silence. And when you practice these exercises without realizing it, you'll begin to walk lighter, with more clarity, courage, and peace. The power of change is already in your hands. All you need is to begin.